Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs win the World Series. Bryant makes the play. It's over. And the Cubs have finally won it all. 8-7-10.
Welcome to Club 120. The ultimate roundtable for diehard Cubs fans and lovers of all things sports and lifestyle.
Strike three, you're out.
Hosted by Neil and Nate, two former baseball players and coaches turned loud mouths with strong opinions and even stronger banner. Get ready for quick-hitting, time-answer segments packed with wit, laughs, and the occasional heated debate. From analyzing Cubs on-field action to diving into off-field drama, no topic is off limits. So grab your glove, pour a drink, and pull up a seat at Club 120, where the banner's quick, the takes are hot, and the Cubs always come first. Let's get started.
Play ball.
Hello, Cubs fans. It's 120. Time to grab an old style and a bleacher seat inside a Club 120. Let's talk some Cubs baseball. I'm Nate. As always, I'm joined by our fearless leader, Neil, whose third grade homeroom teacher was Clark the Cubs' mom. What's on the lineup today, Coach?
Hey, man. Well, the Cubs have landed in Tokyo, so it's officially on. This wonderful waste of dollars and energy is well underway. There's no taking it back now. So we are excited to have real baseball, I guess, and then have some practice baseball here in a little bit after that, and then go back to some real baseball. But man, hey, also speaking of excited, we're excited that you guys are with us. We're excited that you're listening. Thanks for joining us. And a little bit about today's show, man. Spring Breakout Series, that's coming up. We're going to talk about that a little bit. PCA Chaos, roster roulette with taking more guys than are allowed in Japan. So what that looks like. And Spring Sparks, Tokyo Surprises, and 2025 predictions. So that's a little bit about what we got in store for you. So let's get rolling.
Absolutely. Well, the big club's on the way to Japan, right? Go ahead and but they left a few guys behind, mostly the minor league guys, and they've done a pretty cool thing the last couple of years here. MLB has with the Spring Breakout Series. Tell us a little bit about that and what we're going to see this week while we wait for the Cubs to actually play some real baseball.
Yeah, so Cubs prospects will play a game, I believe the 13th, and then again on the 15th, once at Camelback and once at Sloan Park. So the prospects that I'm interested in seeing the most are obviously Cade Horton, Moises Ballesteros, and James Triantos. Obviously, those guys did not make the trip to Tokyo. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little surprised at the Ballesteros. I kind of thought maybe there was an outside chance that he might make the Tokyo roster, especially finding out that they were going to take more than the 26 or 29, whatever it is.
Right.
When I found out they were taking more, I thought maybe he had an outside shot. But man, Cade Horton, obviously had a really good spring. So I'm excited to see him. Moises, obviously, we've already talked about him, and James Triantos. I thought he's looked good so far. So excited to keep an eye on those guys. What about you?
This is a really cool series. You got to think about it. A lot of these guys just spent the last 2 to 3 weeks with the big club. Over the last week or so, they've trickled into minor league camp and got sent down. The worst part of their spring has started, right? They lost their job technically. Their hopes of making the big league club have to wait another year. Pray for health and all the good stuff and development. But this is a really cool deal the MLB has done simply because it helps keep these kids focused on what's really their role in the organization, right? That's the future. And we get to see that. Heck, last year started with Paul Skeens, right? I mean, he threw in this, and then a month and a half later, he's throwing for the Pirates. So it not saying it's a jump start or a spring break into the big club, but it is a great opportunity for our best prospects to go up against some other guys and see how they're doing. I think that there's going to be a lot of middle infielders that we're going to want to keep an eye on. We have a glut of them right now. Not that everybody doesn't, but where do these athletes end up? How do they showcase against these rest of these guys? I think we've got, Triantos is one, and he's just a part of it. And some of this is honestly a marketing pitch for the organizations to throw their best prospects out there to make sure that, hey, whenever I say player to be named later, this is one of them. And I think that's a good thing. So it'll be good to see how they do that this week. One of the things that we've got going on, and your favorite guy, honestly, this spring, speaking of spring breakout, which he already did, but let's be honest. Let's talk a little bit about Captain Chaos, Pete Crow Armstrong, the man with the second longest last name in the National League Central. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I should have looked it up before we got on here. That's on me. But I think he like 525 or something is what he's hitting, or maybe I don't know 505 or something. I don't know. It's something astronomical that he's hitting for the spring. He's absolutely crushing it, and he's stealing a lot of bases. He's creating chaos. I mean, every time he's on the bags, and I know I've said this multiple times on here, but he is absolutely must-see TV. You have to tune in when he's on it, when he's up at the plate, when he's on base. It's absolutely mesmerizing the things that this kid can do. It's like you're back in, you're back to watching 12, 13, 14-year-old 14U baseball, and you got the one kid that's just more advanced than everyone else, and he just wreaks havoc on other teams. And that's who he is. That's what he does, man. And it's awesome. I love it. I love to see it.
It is fun. I can't tell you the last 2 years ago we watched Ronald Acuna destroy a baseball game together. We've watched Ellie De La Cruz destroy an entire baseball game. The list is pretty short. And quite honestly, what we've seen this spring from PCA, he's on that list already. He showed flashes of it last year. Now he's got the pop to go with it, right? I mean, 500 at-bats from this guy is going to be really electric. Where do we put him in the lineup? Let's ask that question, because he's creating some chaos for Craig. So realistically, as we look at, how to put a bow on PCA, this Ferrari that we've got, where would you put him?
Man, that's hard. I mean, you obviously want your best hitter to get the most at-bats, and I'm not going to come out and say he's the best hitter, but right now he certainly looks like it. I mean, he's hitting 525 or 505 or whatever it is. He's hitting over 500. So, and obviously if that continues, which it's not, it's going to level off. But if that kind of trajectory continues, like, I think he's got to be at the top of the lineup. He just has to be. Like, you got to get him on base 2 or 3 times a game. I mean,
the speed kills, right? I mean, and in the game that we've played now, and the MLB has changed these rules, it's opened up everything for a guy like PCA. And that is quite possibly the best thing that we've got going for us, is we have a trump card. And when you have one of those guys that can completely wreck a baseball game, it does an entirely different setup mentally for the entire team, top to bottom. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So speaking of fun to watch, we are playing roster roulette right now. I think we took 31 guys over to Tokyo. And now I guess what I did read is there are special rules for this thing. So you're allowed to have 31 guys on the active roster. Right. But, I'll let you take this one, because there's going to be some guys come back without a job.
That's a really good point. Honestly, I tweeted, I think, at Bruce Levine yesterday, because I didn't know the special rules. When I started hearing 31, 34 guys, they keep doing that. Oh, so-and-so's going, so-and-so. I'm like, hold on. Like, we still play with 26. So it's just math right now. We've got a 5-man traveling roster. One of them's our third catcher, just in case, right? Got to have that. But the rest of it, there's a couple guys that are here that haven't had the best spring. And I'm interested to see how they do this, because there's 2 guys that are going that aren't on the 40-man. So let's start there, right? What do you do with Shaw? And what do you do with Keller? Because before they play in anything, corresponding roster moves must be made. So with 17 pitchers out there and 14, 14 position players, it makes sense to 14, right? With the extra catcher. So the numbers actually, the math is mathing on the position side. It's the pitcher side. So what do you think guys like Tyson Miller versus Keller, who's had an exceptional spring, versus Miller, who had a great second half for us last year, but he has been absolutely awful right now. So, is there somebody that's coming back from Japan without a job, and they're going to play in the exhibition, and they're going to shuffle them out?
Yeah, so that's a great man. That's a great. You know what I have? I kind of broke it down by like who's on. I have Miller out right now,
Okay,
and I know he's
he's out of options.
probably
Out of
right. He's out
options.
of options, so
Out.
I don't know what that means for him. But I have Miller out right now. But
Okay.
Workman, Shaw, Bruhan, and Brown. To me, they're bubble guys that are in.
Okay.
Like Gage Workman has earned himself a spot, and if he doesn't have one, I don't know what else, I don't know what it takes. Because in
Mhm.
my opinion, Workman, even though there's been some doubt and cloud over Matt Shaw, I think Workman's outworked Matt Shaw to this
Yeah.
point. That's not to say, Shaw's ceiling's probably higher, but
Sure.
I think right now Workman's the guy. But I
Well,
have on the hot seat Wicks, Keller, Palencia, Pearson, and Merriweather.
Real quick, I'm going to tell you right now. Number one, Merriweather's out of options. I think he's in, and he's had a fantastic spring. We'll get to him in a minute. The rest of those guys, boy, the Keller's the real fly in the ointment here because he's not on the 40, so he's going to correspond somewhere. Wicks is going to be pissed if he gets sent down, honestly, because he's had a banger of a spring. He's done everything that they've asked after a tough year last year. And Palencia and Pearson have thrown the heck out of the ball, and they're the guys that are running it up there 99 to 101 right now. So, man, this is going to be a fun week of baseball, quite honestly. And this roulette that they're going to play to see how they shuffle, right? Because at some point somebody's going to play in this and not see any in the first two games, and they're going to come back and they're going to go back to practice, and then the real 26 coming out for Arizona is going to be I think there's going to be somebody that played in Japan that won't be in Arizona with us for the first real games after we come back. So
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's going to be some guys with some hurt feelings. Like I think there's some guys that are real comfortable on that flight over there and are real comfortable at where they are sitting roster wise, and when they come back, it's going to be a surprise.
that could be some fireworks on the way home, no doubt. That's a long way home to find that out. If something does change going in there with 31 and coming back with 26, technically speaking. So,
Speaking of fireworks, let's
yeah,
talk about spring sparks. Let's hear what you have to say about
yeah,
some sparks that you've seen this spring.
man, I got a couple here. And it's obvious to see we've all seen some of this, but I really was impressed with Wicks this spring quietly. Just went out there and did his job. 7 Ks, no walks, multiple appearances. Really looked like he wanted to put the ball in the zone and challenge hitters, and that's important for these young guys, especially, man. Put another lefty up there. He's shown that he can do it. He's shown flashes already. Last year, boy, we were really hoping he was going to be super high up that list, right? I mean, realistically, if Wicks doesn't get hurt last year, do we have Matthew Boyd right now? Right. I mean, that's the reality of his year that he had, that we were expecting maybe a 4-5 guy emerging, and he just couldn't keep it together for 9 months. Merriweather looks like he's back. Super excited to see that. Love to see him. I really like his wipeout ability stuff. So I really was watching him a lot this spring to make sure he was, firing it in the zone, and he looks good. Ben Cowles, 6 doubles, 400 batting average, showed some real pop. Athletic. He's just in a glut of infielders, but I really hope that he has a really good, first half for Iowa, because he's kind of a player to be named later kind of guy that could be an asset at at the deadline, over the next year or so in a couple of different windows for us where he's there. And then Greg Allen, he kind of showed his rear yesterday. Honestly, we needed hard contact there at the end of that game, but I think that's the difference where Greg Allen figured it out, right? That's why you're not in the big club, Greg. Like, let's be honest. You can knock them around most of the time, but when it's chips are on the table, we didn't really see much from him But he did spark a little bit, and I did like what I saw there from him. What about you? Who stood out for you?
Well, obviously, as far as the bats go, I have Pete Crow Armstrong. 5 out of 5 is my spark rating there. Like, I mean, he is just absolutely killing it. And then, I think I predicted earlier that Miguel Amaya, we were going to see the back half Miguel Amaya is going to start the season this year. And so far, I like what I've seen. He's hitting the ball hard, good contact. Impressive early camp. So I go 4 out of 5 sparks on him. The next two guys are just Horton, we've already talked about, and Triantos, I've already talked about. Better than expected. Springs, kind of as they came in, it was like, okay, let's keep an eye on these guys. I think Horton was one of the guys that you mentioned as somebody to keep an eye on early on, and been very impressed with him. But we'll just see. We'll have to see if there's room for him. That's what it's all about for these pitchers is the room for these guys.
Absolutely. Speaking of room for guys, were there any real surprises for you as we touched down in Tokyo? Was there anything that really just jumped out at you about where we're heading into the final week of preparation for opening day?
Look, you know how I feel about this guy. You know exactly who I'm going to say, but I don't know if was the 31 that we're taking, was that a hard rule? But because if it's not, there's absolutely zero reason, unless there's some sort of injury or something we don't know about, for Kevin Alcantara to not be in Tokyo. Like the spring he's had, I mean, the dude is just a dude. And like, I don't know why. I don't know what message we're sending him. I don't know. Obviously, we're going to start him in AAA because you're not going to not take him to Tokyo and then put him on the roster. But you're talking about somebody that is on the 40-man and didn't make the trip, and you got 2 or 3 guys that did make the trip who are not on the 40-man roster. So confusing. I don't understand why he's not there. To me, he's worked his way there, and we're just not taking him. What about you? Any surprises for you?
Well, just to put a bow on that, I just don't know where his at bats would come. Do I believe he earned it? Absolutely. I just don't know where he's gonna. With everybody healthy right now and everything that's there, I just don't see how he's going to trump major league at bats that are already going. So it sucks because he's kind of landlocked right now. But I want him to bang it up. Keep knocking the door down. Right? I mean, he's exciting enough. He's got enough tools to do that. The biggest surprise for me, quite honestly, as we head there is what we're bringing out of the bullpen right now. That's my big, like, and in fact, we have an additional surprise with Keller to go with it. So the guys that we were hoping would step up and have banger years again, look healthy, look like they're shoving it in the zone. They're not snapping sliders off in the other batter's box too often these days. We're in there. Heck, even Palencia's little popcorn fart home run yesterday, that was, he came right back and dealt up the next dude like that was nothing. And everybody knew it. I don't think anybody looked at that and his ERA jumped and everybody's like, yeah, right. At Wrigley on a Tuesday afternoon in Wrigley, that's a pop up to Hap. So, I'm really surprised at everybody making that jump. And that's a hard thing to do, to watch 7 or 8 guys that you need to make that jump in that window and say, we're addressing this bullpen. And there's 11, 12 of them now that are like, no, I mean, give me the ball. I'm going to get you 3 outs. So I love seeing that. Will it hold up though? Right. As we look at predictions, will that hold up? Where the weakest part of our problem last year was our bullpen, 20 some odd games blown. What's your prediction this year on how we look in the NL Central and the rest of the Major League Baseball? What do you think, Neil?
Okay, so we're going right into the predictions. Man, so here's some bold predictions.
Okay.
What's that?
I said put everything on record right here. We'll be live next week, but the game's hard to be played. So this is it.
Yeah, so I've got just 5 quick things as far as my prediction goes. Shota finishes in top 5 of the NL Cy Young voting.
Okay.
I think he gets off to a rough start. but I think he'll settle in and be dominant by mid-May. Pete Crow Armstrong. I obviously love saying the guy's name. I talk about him a lot, but I think he wins a Gold Glove, and I think he hits 20-plus home runs.
Okay.
I think Pete Crow Armstrong exceeds all expectations, and he is the two-way threat that we are predicting him to be. I think Kyle Tucker has a 30-30 season. I think that's why we went and got him. I don't know that that's a bold prediction. I think that's just another year in the office for Kyle.
Mhm.
But it is going to be interesting to see his value go up and down with every at bat as he's battling for a long-term deal, and Cubs fans battle with whether they should sign him to a long-term deal. Number 4, Cubs, I believe, will have the best bullpen in the National League. And that's saying, coming from me, that's saying a lot because nobody hated last year's bullpen more than me.
No.
But with the number of arms that they have out there and the number of guys they have available, I think the bullpen will be a complete asset in 2025 and a complete difference from last year. And my final prediction, the Cubs win the NL Central, 90-plus wins. And I that's it. I'm not going to make any predictions further than that. I'm not going to crown them World Series champs, but I do think they win the NL Central.
All right, I hear you on the PCA. I've got him on my short list for a Gold Glove. I think Hap is in the club where it just kind of is going to keep going for him. And once you're in, I think you start rolling them until you don't, right? And I think Hap's got that. And adding PCA from a depth level standpoint, as far as his zone ratings are concerned, are going to be awesome. So I'm going to see that. As far as games are concerned, as far as the games on the field are concerned, I think the Cubs get to 92 wins this year. And I think they take the Central pretty handily. My bold prediction, though, will be the Reds will make a wild card. And I think that I think their starting pitching is finally meeting where that's at. And I'd like to see, I don't want to see, but I think we're going to see some of that talent like De La Cruz kind of match up with what they've got for pitchers. So it's going to be a wild one this year with the Reds more than any year that we've ever wanted. They used to be our little brother, and now I think they're going to nip at us a little bit this year, and it'll be fun. Other than that, yeah.
I mean, they scare the daylights out of me. I mean,
yeah. If we can't stop them running, honestly, it's going to be a fun series because they can run, and if they can put some up against us, and they have, it's going to be interesting.
The only thing is, they're really big on. They just hired this big, fancy new manager in Terry Francona, right? Well, we went out and hired a big fancy manager last year, and it didn't get us any better. So I'm hoping they just level off.
It's not the manager, no manager bump, huh? And the one thing that I'm going to keep my eye on, the prediction here the entire time, honestly, just a running tally is honestly how much drama comes out of LA or not, because there's just too many players. I still think I'm going to say that. I'm going to say it all year. There's too many guys. There's still too many guys. So unless they have some rash of something as far as, unfortunate health wise, I just don't see how they're going to keep everybody happy. And I just don't see how that's going to be there. So, but when it comes time to win, they're going to trump everybody with talent 1 through 9 and 1 through 9 in the bullpen and in the rotation as well. I think they have 9 players deep at every position now. So they're going to be all right, but it's going to be a fun year. I want to see us play some defense. We've got some guys that can flat out play. Our outfield defense is going to be fantastic. It's kind of a no-fly zone. I'm looking forward to that. And Cubs fans, we're looking forward to 90 wins. It's the last thing Jed said he wanted. He wanted to build a 90-win club. That's exactly what he set out to do. He checked off every single box this winter. Every single one of them. He said he was going to do it, and he did it. And he hit all the boxes. So then if that's the case, if his math is math, then we're looking at a 90-plus win team, and we're looking at a Central Division.
Oh, I like it, man. I like where your head's at. I hope that's the case.
Let's get after it, man. All right. Well, that's going to be it for this week edition, folks. And we are off to Tokyo. Not really. I wish we were. That would be fun.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, one more thing before we go. In honor of, this is another way that you guys can support us and support what we do. in honor of Kyle Tucker getting his first spring training hit, and first spring training hit was a home run. We have these shirts available on our website. Let me move it over so you can see it.
There you go.
So those shirts are available on club120show.com. Go there, go check it out. But they are the Premium Cuts Tucker Lumber Company with the Wrigleyville clock on there. Good stuff. Go check it out. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, follow, all of that good stuff on all social media. We're there at club120show.com. That's all for us. Have a great week. Go Cubs, go.
Go Cubs, go.
This has been Club 120. Neil and Nate have practically spent their entire lives doing something centered around baseball. And with these guys, you're going to get quick-hitting, time-answer segments packed with wit, laughs, and, yes, heated debates. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, you can find us on all social media platforms at Club 120 Show. And of course, the website at www.club120show.com. Until next time, go Cubs, go!